Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do a May and June wrap up, and I'm going to start with the books that I rated the lowest and move up to the books that I rated the highest. I think the book that I finished that has the lowest rating in this list is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. This one started out very strong for me. It is set on a remote island off of Antarctica, and a woman washes on shore, and the only people that are on this island is this family, and this family is not trusting of her, and she is not trusting of the family. And while the writing was really good and I was sucked into the mystery, I think I really just didn't like what wound up happening in the story and even the characters themselves. Honestly, I've kind of wiped it from my memory now that I have finished reading it, and it was only a 2.5 star. So even though this is getting a lot of hype from other readers, this really just wasn't one that worked well for me. I do have a few books that landed at 3 stars, one of them being A Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This one follows kind of two storylines. One where these two reporters are interviewing this woman who is very much like a Evelyn Hugo situation, where she is a Hollywood starlet who is older and wants to share like the true story of her life. And then the other storyline follows the two reporters that are falling in love, and they are having to compete for who gets to write this woman's story. I actually enjoyed having the story of the woman. I do much prefer the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I liked having something other than just the romance. But there were so many things that had me rolling my eyes. Like, I didn't understand why these two reporters were falling in love. I didn't understand why they honestly couldn't have a relationship when they were essentially having a relationship. I don't know. A lot of things had me really rolling my eyes. The ending of this did have some redeeming factors, and I did wind up giving it 3 stars, but it was a disappointment overall for being a new Emily Henry. I think this one's going to depend on what type of books that you like to read as how it's going to land for you. Another book that I gave 3 stars to is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrian Young. This was my first Adrian Young to read, and I enjoyed it. It was a very straightforward, mainstream type of mysteries. I think if you like a very straightforward mystery that follows the characters and looks at what happened and what the relationships were, this might be a good read for you. I would be willing to read more by Adrian Young. I also read The Lamb by Lucy Rose, and this was a very interesting read. It is absolutely disgusting. Like, when I started reading this, I was absolutely sick to my stomach, but I did really fall for the main character, and it's a story of a mother and a daughter who basically devour people. Is that a good way to say it? And ultimately, this book also turned out to be very heartbreaking. I would recommend it if you're a horror reader and you like body horror and you want to look into the very disturbing lives of these characters. But in the end, I gave this one 3 stars as well. Now we are getting into 3.5 star territory with The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie. This is the story of a girl who lives in a village where it's being ravaged by storms, and they believe that the sea god is angry with them. So they are sacrificing women to the sea. And our main character knows that they're going to sacrifice her brother's girlfriend or fiance, and her brother is going to do this grand gesture to save his fiancée, and our main character knows that this is going to be a death sentence for him. So she throws herself into the sea, and she goes into this magical world of gods and people who have passed before her. And it's a very lovely book, and it all wraps up really well in the end, so I do recommend it. The reason this only gets a 3.5 star for me is because I was really unsure about the relationships and the things that were happening, but it did very much come together in the end, and I really enjoyed the ending, so that's why I landed on a 3.5 star for The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. And then I also read the first 2 books in the Forsaken Trilogy by R.J. Barker. The first one is Gods of the Wyrdwood, and then the second one is Warlords of Wyrdwood. I think I gave the first one 3.5 and the second one 3.75, or maybe reversed. Anyway, they were very closely rated. And this is a story of a boy who gets taken to be trained in this world where gods exist in the woods. And there's this village that is just outside of Wyrdwood that this main character is trying to help and to save. And as the story goes on, we get deeper and deeper into Wyrdwood, and we get to see the creatures and the plants and all of the weird gods and darkness and magic that happens in this setting of Wyrdwood, which I really enjoy. I really enjoy R.J. Barker's writing. The third book in the trilogy just came out, so I will hopefully be reading that one very soon as well, because I am really enjoying this series. And for my 4-star reads, I have This Is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Mohtar. And this is a short but very beautiful story about these 2 people who are caught up in this time war. One of them's named Red and one of them is named Blue. And they begin communicating across hundreds of years, and you're really getting to see the communications that go back and forth and the relationship that is built between Red and Blue. And some of the quotes in this book are just incredibly beautiful, and the yearning between these 2 characters are just so wonderfully portrayed, and I just had a really, really good time reading this, and I would recommend this one for sure. And the next 4-star read that I read is Dungeon Crawler Carl. There's a lot of hype going around for this one, and it is well deserved. It is a very fun read. It is a litRPG, which basically means it's like you're reading a video game. Carl and his cat, Princess Donut, are thrust into this intergalactic game show dungeon where they have to survive and go through these different levels, and it's just a really good time. I also listened to this one on audio. I would recommend, if you're an audiobook listener, grabbing the audio, because it really does elevate the experience. The narrator does a fantastic job with not only the characters but the AI and the video game type elements. So I really had a great time with this, and I will be continuing on with the rest of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And now for my 5-star reads, I read The Story of a New Name by Elena Ferrante, which is the sequel to My Brilliant Friend. These are the first 2 books in the Neapolitan Quartet, which follows 2 women throughout the whole course of their lives. The first book shows them from being very young through their adolescence, and then The Story of a New Name follows them through their young adult years. I would suggest looking up trigger warnings if you need them. This deals a lot with young adult relationships and family dynamics, and you really just start to deeply care about these characters, and I very much look forward to spending time with them throughout their lives in the rest of the Neapolitan Quartet. And then my favorite book that I read in the last couple of months is Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Shroud is a moon that is completely dark and uninhabitable, and our two main characters crash land on this moon. There are aliens on this planet, and they have to figure out how they're going to survive, how they're going to get off Shroud, how they're going to interact with these alien species. And I just had the best time. This is one of my favorite sci-fi novels now, probably my favorite Tchaikovsky novel, and I highly recommend it. And those are the books that I read in May and June. If you've read any of these, let me know. If you have any recommendations for me based on these books, I would love to hear it. Let me know you are here, and be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.